Hi guys, I'm Gasha. Welcome to our coffee times to talk about horror. And today I'm here with another book review. I'm here to talk to you about The Reappearance of Rachel Price.
It's coffee time!
Today we're going to be discussing a YA mystery thriller. We're talking about the last novel by Holly Jackson. The book just came out this year and I am going to be talking about it spoiler-free. The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson was pitched as a true crime murder mystery, and you guys know how much I have been enjoying Holly Jackson, so obviously I had to check it out. Last year, while I was preparing for YALC and I was putting together the list of books and authors that I wanted to read before YALC, I realized that Holly Jackson was coming and I had to finally pick up a book by her. So I finally picked up Five Survive, and that was my first Holly Jackson book, so I have actually YALC to thank for it. To be honest, for years I have had A Good Girl's Guide to Murder on my Kindle, but I never picked it up, even though I always thought that it might potentially be a book that I really enjoy, because obviously we had a girl trying to solve a mystery, a murder mystery. After reading A Good Girl's Guide to Murder this year, it became one of my favorites, and me, like many others, fell in love with Pip and, with her personality. And I really love the mixed media as well that I could find on those books and solving mysteries together with Pip and her friends. So of course I had to pick up her new novel, and I wanted to talk to you about it now that I have read all the books so far published by Holly Jackson. This is a true crime mystery thriller about a girl that is determined to find what happened to her mother, what happened the day that her mother disappeared, while she's also being interviewed for a documentary that is being currently recorded about her mother's disappearance. It is at the moment an unsolved case, and Belle is now 18. When her mom disappeared, she was only 2, and she barely remembers anything from that day. And that is something that has been haunting her, because she feels like if she could remember something, maybe they would have been able to find her mom. It's been now 16 years, Rachel Price is missing, and everybody assumes that she is dead. Now they are filming a documentary on the mystery of her disappearance and how there were no clues and it was very mysterious the way that she disappeared. They are turning it into kind of like an unsolved case true crime documentary, and they are involving the whole family and they are doing interviews with the whole family, but plot twist, Rachel reappears. You kind of expect this because it is on the title of the book, so when I started reading the book I was like, I know she's gonna come back, I wonder how, I wonder when. So you're still excited about it, but you kind of know that that is coming. But fear not, there will be many more plot twists in this novel. All the characters in this book are kind of in a gray area, so you don't know if you can trust them or not. You don't know if you can trust their alibis, their motivations, the things they are saying in the interview. So for me as a reader, I really enjoyed that because it meant that absolutely everybody in this book was a potential suspect. However, I can see why this might not work for everybody, because one of our main characters, or let's say the main character in the book, is Belle, and she was a character that is not kind of likable. A lot of times she makes the wrong decision, a lot of times she says the wrong things, and I can see why it might be irritating for some people. At times I think you could say Belle was a little bit selfish or a little bit rude, so I can see why some people might have issues with that, especially since, Holly's other main female character in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was such a likable character. Except book 3, let's just leave that aside. But something that I really liked about Belle is that there is kind of an explanation for her pushing people away and sometimes being rude, is that she has a fear of losing people, which is completely understandable taking into consideration what happened to her, losing her mom disappearing. So she always feels like people are always gonna leave, disappear, like break up the friendship, die, whatever it is, but she knows people always leave from your life. So instead of accepting it. She just protects herself and creates this barrier and kind of pushes people away. We also have Rachel, who disappeared and then reappeared, and when she comes back still wearing the same clothes that she had when she disappeared 16 years ago, and she looks very dirty. The clothes are basically just like a complete mess. It's just like rags on her body, so she kind of looks like a zombie. Also, Rachel does not remember what happened to her, which is one of the biggest mysteries that we have to solve in the book. Then we have Charlie, who is Belle's father, and he had to raise her by himself after losing his wife, so it has not been the easiest, but they do have a very strong bond because obviously they have had to live through it together. But the whole family here is involved, the whole Price family is involved in one way or another, and we will see them and get to meet them through interviews. Then we have the film crew here, and the two main characters from the film crew is the director and Ash. So the director is someone that is very kind of like always busy, stressed, you know, he knows what he wants, he pushes the buttons because he wants to get specific answers from the people that he's interviewing. He wants the juicy answers, which felt very realistic if you take into consideration how some interviewers of documentaries, you know, ask certain questions because they are obviously trying to get the juicy answers. And then we have Ash, who helps the crew. He helps with the camera and all of that, and he was one of the best characters in the book for me because he was kind of like very different from everybody else. He was very kind, he was a breath of fresh air between all the other characters, and almost like a comedic relief in such a serious book. So I really enjoyed him as a character. True crime is obviously the biggest kind of theme, plot device that we have here. We have a mystery, a crime. Somebody has disappeared. Has somebody taken her? They all assume somebody took her because why would she abandon her 2-year-old daughter? And so we talk here about true crime and true crime documentaries, an unsolved mystery. We all love to watch those documentaries. There's actually a documentary series on Netflix called Unsolved Mysteries that I really enjoy because we get to see all the facts and video footage of everything that happened, and nobody knows what, you know, in the end where that person is or who killed that person because it is unsolved. And so those are the ones that really interest us as humans because we have this tendency of wanting to, you know, kind of solve puzzles. We need to be able to know what happened, and that is also what drives the director of the documentary to do a documentary specific about Rachel's case, because the way that she disappeared, the day that she disappeared, it just raises so many questions and we never got answers. Now that she's back, we might. There's also talk about victims, and victims in the sense of people that are involved in that true crime story, because we have Belle. She is the daughter, Rachel's daughter, and all her life has been defined by that moment where her mom disappeared. That's what everybody wants to ask her about. That's what everybody, you know, is always talking about her. Everybody in town talks about it, the news talks about it. So your life is almost not yours anymore. It becomes part of the circus that is the media and the internet, and it can be quite jarring for someone to have their whole life just circling around that, especially when you lost your mom and you don't know why and you don't know where she is, and everybody is still judging and everybody is still talking about it years later. We also have a full-on police investigation here. We hear about how Rachel disappeared, about everything that the police investigated, all the people that they interviewed, the conclusions that they came up with, and who was the suspect back in the day, everything that happened from the trial and all of that. So I really love that aspect of the book as well. I always love a good police investigation. You learn how the police tried to find whoever took her, and like I said, the people that they suspected and all of that. And now that Rachel has reappeared, of course the police has to reopen the case and go back and try to see if they can put the pieces of the puzzle together now that Rachel is back, and they're hoping that she's going to remember. So of course they start interviewing Rachel now to try to figure out where she was, who took her, did someone take her, what happened to her. The writing style felt very different from her other books. I did not expect this one to be the way that it was, which is not a negative thing, but this has been so far the most kind of slow burn by Holly Jackson that I have ever read. I think there's certain things that come here at play. The first thing is that it is quite the lengthy book, but you know, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder were also kind of long books for being YA. However, I think one of the things that influenced this book being a really slow read for me was the fact that there was not mixed media at all, which was something that I really missed in this book. I think the other books by Holly Jackson had a much faster pace. They had kind of more of a plot that was moving at a very interesting, exciting pace, while this one, it was more like a slow burn telling of a story through interviews and all of that. But I did miss that the interviews were not like formatted like in mixed media type interview style. They were just like told, and that made it drag a little bit more than maybe it should have. I kind of wish that the interviews would have been formatted different to be more kind of like fast-paced and more kind of like engaging and entertaining. The story is told from Belle's perspective. She is our main character here, and one thing is because everybody is kind of on the gray area when it comes to characters. Belle is almost like an unreliable narrator because there are so many interviews and there are so many characters that come here at play. It is like a big game of chess here with the family and everybody, and because you see everything from Belle's perspective, you are more influenced to always hear her thoughts, her beliefs, who she suspects, and all of that. And so it's almost like the author is forcing you to only see it from that point of view, which I would have maybe loved in this type of book, to see a lot more different points of views and figure out who is lying and who is not, instead of hearing everything from Belle's perspective. But again, I still did enjoy this book. I just felt like it was very different from her other books, and that might be why some people might enjoy it or it might not. I think this is the book that is going to split a lot of readers that loved A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and a lot of people are going to have such different opinions. This book is obviously more of a mystery thriller than a horror, but there are still a lot of dark elements when it comes to the story. The plot and the dark secrets are being uncovered. Having read now all of Holly Jackson's published works, I think the one that was the most horror from all of them has been Five Survive, where you're still gonna get all the horrors from a good true crime story when you get the shocking reveals, and like a good true crime, it's going to have really dark moments. People are gonna get hurt as well, let me tell you that. I think she achieved really well how to tell a good true crime story slash documentary. So if you love those type of things, I think you're gonna enjoy this one. Just keep in mind that it might be a slow burning book at the beginning. Holly Jackson is a British author born in 1992, and she actually completed her first book when she was 15. It might not have been the greatest, but that proves that she has always had a soft spot for writing. And I'm really glad that she stuck to it because, like I said, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder has been one of my favorite books that I have read this year. She currently lives in London, and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was in fact her debut novel, and it has been very successful. Many people have loved the series, and now it's being turned into a TV show. The trailer just dropped and I'm really excited to watch it. She enjoys playing video games and pointing out grammatical errors in street signs. She has published so far A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, the trilogy, and then she added later on a little novella called Killjoy, that is actually a prequel to the series, but I did read this in publication order, so I read the prequel after the trilogy. Then she published 5 Survive, and like I said, this is the one that I felt was more intense horror than the other ones, but all her books are mystery thrillers. And of course her latest novel, The Reappearance of Rachel Price, and she has now been confirmed for Yelk this year as well, so I'm really excited to get to meet her again and talk to her and see her in her panels. Even though this book was slow at the very beginning and it takes a little bit for you to really get engaged with the character and the stories, I feel like it has a really good payoff. The last 25% of the book is like this huge roller coaster, fast-paced, a lot of reveals, so it does have a great payoff if you stick to it. I think this book probably had the most reveals that I have had on a Holly Jackson book, so if you love a book that has twists and turns galore, you're gonna enjoy the ending. Some of those reveals might be a little bit far-fetched, I must admit, but I still think they were fun, and I think if you love true crime and mystery, you're gonna enjoy this one. Just don't go into it expecting mixed media, which is something that we really loved in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, and I kind of expected it in this one only because we have a documentary, interviews, a film crew, and I kind of expected that in my mind. So just keep that in mind, because that is one of the things that was a little bit disappointing for me. But it's a great mystery, great premise, so I think you will still enjoy it. So this was my spoiler-free review of The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. I hope that you enjoyed my review. Let me know down below which other books you would like me to review that are coming out still in 2024. And if you have read books by Holly Jackson, which one has been your favorite so far? Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all, as always, in our next coffee time. Bye!